Welcome to In Your Business, a podcast where we dive deep into the stories behind the businesses and leaders shaping the Huntington area. I'm your host, Reeves Kurtner. Season 2 of In Your Business is presented by Moses Auto Mall of Huntington. Online at mosesmeansmore.com. And powered by the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kindred Communications. Today we have a special episode lined up for you. Marshall University is more than just a cornerstone of higher education in our community. Its athletic programs play a pivotal role in our local economy, community engagement, and the identity of our region. To explore this in detail, I'm thrilled to welcome Marshall University Director of Athletics Christian Spears to the show. We're going to discuss how Marshall Athletics impacts the Huntington economy, how the programs support local businesses, and the ways businesses can get involved with HERD programs. We'll also tackle NIL, name, image, and likeness, working with President Brad Smith, Christian's goals for the future, and more. Let's get in your business. Today I want to talk about Marshall Athletics and the impact that it has on the Huntington business community, which is a lot. So I'll say that. I'm going to tee you off and go for it. How much of an impact does Marshall have on the business community?
Yeah, well, I'm involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I get to serve on that board and get to watch what we're doing citywide, community-wide, county-wide. And so many of the things that we do together include the university.
Right.
And so many of the things that the university does includes, the town.
That's right.
Right. So this town and gown thing that we have here, I've been at other places and I've seen it. It isn't always as collegial. It isn't always as collaborative where both parties are looking for a win, an outcome that benefits both.
Yeah.
But here, for whatever the reasons, it feels like we do that every single time.
Yeah.
Right. And no one pushes back against working with us. Everyone is open-minded to how we can figure out what to do together that mutually benefits both, from food service to event companies to your own stations.
That's right. Yeah, sure.
It just always seems to come together with a really cool spirit and concept. And man, I love how we're all connected.
Well, let's talk about that. So you've been in schools in Michigan, Illinois, Pennsylvania. And it's a different vibe than those other places, and how so? I mean, and did that surprise you when you first came here?
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
Right. Over time, I got to meet the government leadership at some of those places that I've been at. It happened day one here.
Okay.
Right, where hey, this is the mayor. Hey, this is our state senator. Hey, this is our governor.
Right.
Hey, this is our Chamber of Commerce. Hey, this is our group that helps us navigate the business relationships right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare where it was so holistically connected.
Why do you think what was like that for here?
Obviously, there's just been a pattern and practice of, working together.
Yeah.
And, somewhere along the way, a great president and a great mayor probably said, why are we not working together more holistically? And then however that collegiality started, it got ramped up with President Smith.
Yeah.
Right. He is literally trying to make this community unbelievable.
That's right.
And make Marshall unbelievable.
So we just had Tony Stroud in here as well and talked about all the stuff going on 4th Avenue in Huntington.
Yeah.
And that's not athletics, right? But but it's a great example of what is going on between the city of Huntington and Marshall University working together to make everything go well.
Can you imagine what that's going to look like when we have the Cybersecurity Institute, the College of Business, all on 4th Street, a brand new hotel maybe?
Yeah, no one understands. And on 4th Avenue, and I'm telling people, I'm like, you have no idea what's getting ready to happen in Huntington.
Yeah.
When's the last time we had 3 buildings going up at the same time?
Right.
80 years ago. Literally, probably, way back then. So
cranes are a great thing.
That's it.
And in the 28 months that I've been here, I've seen a lot of cranes.
That's right.
Up and down, 3rd and 5th and 4th and on campus and off campus.
That's a good point.
It's coming together.
That's right. Going back to it, do you have number? And I'm not, if you don't have them, that's fine. But do you have any numbers, data, like on the money that Marshall Athletics generates? Going back to that kind of conversation for the businesses, hotels, restaurants, that kind of stuff. You can share.
Brad talks about it a lot, right? There's for every dollar you spend with Marshall, there's a $15 return on that investment. He wants to grow that to 30, and that's absolutely realistic and doable, right? From a athletic standpoint, we have 145 live events. We're probably bringing in, close to 700,000 people annually to our events, right? Just 6 home football games.
That's right.
There's 25,000 people right there.
Yep.
Right. Visiting our communities, spending money in our city, our hotels, our restaurants, hopefully doing some shopping while they're here.
Sure.
And we're stretched in such a way where we're so informative to the guests that we have. I'm sending people to Guyan. I'm sending people into Barbersville. I'm sending people.
That's right.
Downtown. It's not always this set area.
Yep.
We are throughout the county.
Yep.
And I think we make a huge impact.
That's right.
On business success. I really do.
So you mentioned like 700,000 people going to events, and how many? 120 events? Is that what you said?
145 events.
145 events.
That's just athletic events.
That's right.
That's not counting like Hall of Fame weekends or special events that we create, right? There's probably another 20 to 25
spring
events.
Games and quarterback club raffles, right? All that kind of extra stuff too. That's true.
Just this weekend there was 700 people at reverse raffle.
Yes.
Yeah. Now most of those are Huntingtonians, but some of them came in.
That's right.
From other places.
Well, and again, they spent money.
Yeah.
At our building, and surely
hotels were packed.
Had a cocktail before the event, maybe one after as well too, which it all kind of adds up.
Yeah.
Talk about with this kind of stuff too. Something on those 145 events. Now we got a baseball stadium in Huntington, and I'm sure it's too early to have data on that. But that's been an impact. I mean,
for sure.
I hate to say it, but when the stadium was out on Route 2, it was an afterthought. Or when we were playing in Charleston, it was an afterthought. Now you've got 20 games or so.
28 home games, 24 Tri-State Coalcat games, right? All March through July. Never been done before.
No.
Yeah. So yes, we had the Cubs at one point. Yes.
30 years ago.
Yes.
We're talking 30 years ago.
Yeah, we've played in 8 or 9 different locations for our baseball program, but never designed to really be fans first.
No.
Really just a place for us to play.
Yeah.
And, to have that economic impact was significant, right? It truly was.
Yep.
It made a difference in how businesses approach staffing. I had conversations with restaurateurs. They're just like, hey, we weren't expecting to have this many people.
That's right.
After a game.
Yep.
And thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Like literally thanking us
Yes.
for finally getting the baseball stadium done because they've seen the increase in their own business.
Yeah. Well, because again, like with Marshall, we would have late August through March with football and basketball, and then now we got something going on, like you said, March, April, May, June, and July now with the with the Coalcats as well too.
Right. Absolutely.
Hey, how important is it that Marshall is involved in the community, and how do you all interact in the community outside of business stuff? But talk about the special events that you guys are a part of, community service events and charities and all that too.
Yeah, we try to do as much as we can, man. Like being a part of a community, it's got to be home, right? Everything that happens within our community, we don't always coordinate it. I wish we did.
What do you mean?
Right? Trisha and I got caught last year where we were having hoops in Huntington on the same day that she was having her business expo down at the Mountain Health Arena, now the Marshall Health Network Arena. And, I felt so bad that we didn't commingle that activity in some way, right? Like start here, finish here. And once we both put it together, and this is someone I talk to all the time.
Yeah. It's easy to do, man.
Yeah, once we both kind of like, Christian, what's going on? Is that the date? And then I go back to the team and I say, hey, look, let's look at a community calendar and let's try to be strategic and let's let them know what we're doing. And some of them we can't control.
No.
Like, I've got a Sunbelt football schedule that tells me I got to play on these dates.
That's right.
But I can share that with our community partners and say, if you're having something, do you want to incorporate us?
Yeah.
If you're having something, know that it's going to conflict with our football date.
Yeah.
How can we work together?
There's been a number of times where, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but like I'm aware of shows that are coming to Huntington, and I'm like, just an FYI, they got a show at the Marshall Health Arena. Same thing. They can't control. If Live Nation says, hey, we got a September 15th date, and Marshall's playing Appalachian State, it is what it is.
Right.
Like, you're not going to turn down the show and whatever. But I get it. That's easier said than done sometimes, right? On finding dates that work with all that.
Our conference that we joined, the Sunbelt, good, bad, or indifferent, they don't do a great job of scheduling in advance. I've been a part of leagues where you get a schedule 5, 6, 7 years out, and you know the dates.
They know the rotation, all that kind of stuff, right?
Like they've just prepared and planned.
Yeah.
We're releasing, sometimes a fall football schedule in March.
Yeah.
Right?
Why do they do that? Why do they do that?
The TV gods control so much, and they want to see where the matchups will fall. They want to give people a chance to, hey, this venue has an obligation. We've got to move this. So there's a little bit of a trial and error, and then can you move? Can you adjust? But, if you told me 5 years from now you're going to play on Saturday, October 1st, I would be ready.
That's right. That's right.
I'd have October 1st open. I wouldn't book a concert. Yes. I wouldn't, I would just plan and prepare.
Right.
So I'm doing my part to try to get the league there so that we could be better for the city.
That's right. Going back to kind of the business conversation, can you talk about the role of local businesses in sponsoring and supporting Marshall Athletics? Going back to that, between Big Green, between Learfield and NIL, how important is that? How does all that?
All of it connects back to who do we want to be at Marshall University? If our businesses are supporting Learfield, the Big Green, our student athletes, we've got a chance to grow this community because winning matters. It just matters.
Yeah.
Look at what happened last year with women's basketball. I'll be totally honest with you. We had 80 season ticket holders the year before.
Right.
80.
Right.
We got to a point where we had 2,800 people buying a ticket for women's basketball.
Yep.
2,800.
Yep.
From 80.
Love it.
And it was because we won.
And it was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun, man. Like, it was so much fun,
And I think we can continue that kind of momentum with Julie, obviously, but across every one of our programs, if you're successful, just more people come. And it's just more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And in order for us to be successful, we got to have the tools and resources.
Yeah.
So if our local businesses don't provide those tools and resources through Learfield, through the Big Green, through NIL, it's just that much harder because other communities are doing that.
What about I'm a small business, small mom and pop shop. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
Is it? Is there a seat on the bus for me?
Absolutely.
What's the seat?
There's no amount that prevents you from participating, right? Instead of thinking about how much it cost, I just ask people, how much are you willing to spend?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And let us help you create a package that fits within that spending budget that you have, right? So don't ask me how much it costs.
No, that's right.
Because we can do a lot with a little.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So, hey, I've got $1,000 to spend. What can I do to help build your program?
Sure.
And how will that help my business if I do that?
Can a small business get involved? Maybe it's not necessarily money, but can we give our time, our trade, give food, clothes, whatever it is? Are there other avenues too?
Absolutely. You don't. If you're willing to trade, there's a role for you, right? There's an absolute role for you, and it'll end up making us spend something with you. Hey, look, you need tables and chairs for your annual event. I'll donate 50. We'll buy 50.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Right. It just depends on how willing you are to be a great partner. Yeah.
I'm asking that because I feel like, and I think that's a misconception. I think that there is sometimes, it's just I don't have $10,000, $20,000, or whatever. I'm literally asking that question to get that word out there.
Yeah.
There's something for you on that.
Access does deviate, right? There's all access,
of course,
and that is coming to play and really be a part of something.
That's right.
And then there's be a part of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah.
And we can do that in so many different ways.
Sure.
And it doesn't necessarily mean a big spend.
And again, that small business can become a medium-sized business. Can become a big business, right? I mean, every business started out as a small business in some way. So
I'll give you a really good example. I go to an event, the Be Her event that we had.
What is that?
Be Her was a really special event for women's athletics. Elise Smith helped us get that off the ground. And we invited Cindy Collins, a former student athlete, Cindy Carlisle, a former student athlete who's now the VP at Foot Locker, to come and talk to our donors and friends who chose to come to this event. And we brought in community businesses to be a part of it. One of them was the candle store here in town.
Hotwood Social.
You got it.
Social, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And while I'm there, she says, Christian, I would love to do like a Marshall candle. Like, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And she's like, well, I've never known how to get your licensed marks and logos, right? To put on the candles, to be a part of it. And let's figure that out together.
That's
right?
great. Yeah.
And so I know Rodney's reached out to her. We're trying to get the licensing done so she could have I would buy a Thundering Herd candle.
Absolutely.
Like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I would put it in my home, and then I'd go back and get another one when that would,
That's right.
So not a lot of cost for her, an opportunity to partner, and a financial incentive for people to buy her candle that connect to our program.
That's a great example.
It doesn't cost a thing.
No. Great example. And again, that's something else I never thought about using a logo and so forth.
Yeah.
People, I would have no idea where to start. Hey, I want to do this, and how can I use that logo?
So the way the collegiate licensing company does it, you sign up to be a licensee, and then we get 16% of the cost of the item kicked back to our licensing program.
Sure.
I'll take 16% of a $9 candle.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And she'll gladly give up that 16%, right?
Yeah,
for what she has in it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned, again, on these partnerships that Marshall likes to support people that support it. Can you give examples of local businesses? You don't need to name names, but maybe categories that you all do business with, where you're spending your money here in our local area.
Yeah, we've got to feed so many student athletes. We have 450 student athletes. They go on a bus, travel to a game. We're boxing up and packaging a meal.
Yeah.
That's coming from local vendors.
Yeah.
Right. And some of them we have trade, some of them we have an agreement for a less expensive, turkey sandwich. Some of them really go out of their way to put something together spectacular because they know that nutrition matters.
And it's exciting, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we're feeding the herd.
I'm feeding the team. I'm helping us win, right? And those partnerships go a long way. And I think it keeps these long-term connections in place too. There's families that own these restaurants that have been around Huntington
That's right.
for years, decades.
That's right.
And
it's
passing down from generation to generation, and they're still connected to the herd.
Right.
And that feels awesome.
Yeah.
That feels awesome.
Yeah.
And our kids benefit from those relationships. You start to know the owner and operator, the chef, the people associated with the business. It turns into jobs for our kids who serve at their summer or wait tables or whatever.
Sure.
Right? It ends up being a really cool relationship.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen.
Sure.
It doesn't always happen.
Talk about the kids working there. Can you give us overview of name, image, and likeness?
Yep.
What is it, and how? Let's talk about how it's affected Marshall athletics, and then we'll talk about how businesses can get involved as well with that. But give us the overview of what, if people might not understand what it is.
Yeah. So we have the Thunder Trust. It is managed by a group called Athlete Advantage. Our Thunder Trust directly benefits student athletes that are willing to use their name, their image, or their likeness to help promote product, right? A consumer product. The easiest example is the jersey sales, right?
Okay.
You can go downtown, the bookstore, you can see a kid's name on the back of a jersey with Marshall on the front, and you can choose to buy their jersey. We get a percentage of the jersey sale. The store gets a percentage.
Is that out now? Okay.
Yeah. The store does, and so does the kid.
Yeah.
Right? That's the simple, easy one. But we have vendors in town that are outfitting our student athletes for special events that they attend, and using the collateral of their photos in the outfits that were provided by a local business to promote their business. Hey, I dressed so-and-so for the special event.
Right. Yeah.
And the kids love that. The proprietor, it doesn't cost a lot. I mean, the cost of the item.
That's right. The wholesale cost.
The design time it took for them to outfit them, but then the residual of, hey, look how good our track and field student athlete looks, our women's basketball student athlete looks.
Right.
This is what they're wearing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it helps.
Yes.
I would think it helps. They make good models.
Yeah.
And I think it's a mutually beneficial process.
How many businesses, have jumped on board with this kind of stuff?
We've got about...
It's new. It's still new and still changing, right? I mean, sorry.
We've got about 200 people that are either contributing financially to help, in a name, image, likeness situation, or a local business doing the same thing to the Thunder Trust. Sometimes it's a car dealer, sometimes it's a bank, sometimes it's just an individual who says, I really want this kid to work with this specific charity that I care about.
Right.
But they need a little cachet to kind of promote what they're doing. It feels less like community service when you're getting compensated for it, but the kids' hearts are in the right place.
That's right.
They're doing something to benefit a young person that makes them feel good. They're taking their time to do that. Sure, we could have required them to do service, but being paid to do service, it feels maybe a little awkward.
Sure.
But you are getting notoriety around your event to have our kid there. So potentially that's a win-win for everyone. So I think it can work. I really do.
If I would like a Marshall student athlete to do my radio or TV commercials or do social media posts for me or an appearance at my store, an autograph signing, whatever, how do they reach out and get that ball rolling?
Yeah, just contact the Thunder Trust. Stevie is running our Thunder Trust.
Stevie Browning, right?
Yes.
Former Marshall basketball player. Yeah.
How about that for the director of the Thunder Trust to be Stevie Browning? Who would have thought? Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. But again, that's not a bad person to have. He understands it.
He gets it. He's been in the environment. I think he wishes he had NIL when he was in college.
Of course.
Right? He would. Someone would have wanted him for all the threes he made.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
And helping us get to make a tournament run.
That's right.
So Stevie does a great job. He's affable and easy to connect with. And call Stevie and say, hey, man, I want to get involved in one way or another, and we'll come up with a plan and present it.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll make your business thrive, and it'll help our student athletes.
What are some of the misconceptions out there about NIL, especially for a mid-major like a Marshall University?
That these kids are making an extraordinary amount of money. They're not, right? And not at our level, right? So I think our most successful athlete, has a chance to pull low 5, high 4s annually on top of their athletic scholarship.
5 what?
5,000.
$5,000.
Yeah, $5,000.
Got it.
Maybe they're getting to 10, 15.
Not like these crazy stories that we're hearing at these Power 5 schools of $1 million type deals.
And those are real. Those are real. My own son played basketball at Alabama. They went to a Final Four. His roommates are making 6 figures, and they are participating in the SEC, and they are going to a Final Four. That's not happening here at Marshall, right?
What if you're saying the high 4s, low 5s, whatever that number might be?
Yeah.
What are your goals for it? I mean, why even try to compete? Is that competitive with other major schools? It's only $4,000 or $5,000, whatever that number is.
Yeah.
What's the goal there?
Just having happy, whole kids, right? It's still hard to manage your own existence, no matter where you live in the world, right?
Yeah.
So we give them an off-campus room board check. We think it is enough to help them pay their rent and have some nutrition that they buy for themselves. But in today's world, it's just not.
Yeah,
because there's just so many other things that are involved in these individual kids' lives, right? Hey, I think I want to have a car. I think I want to have a cell phone. I think I want to have more air conditioning. My bills exceeded my amount.
That's right.
And so the name, image, and likeness opportunities go a long way for them to close the gap,
right?
So they can just be whole and happy.
Yeah.
Our goal, have a great experience, graduate, and go do something amazing in the world, right? And if you happen to be good enough to play in the pros, unbelievable.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yes.
And thank you for working hard enough to put yourself in that position.
That's right.
But the majority of them, they become me and you, man.
That's right, yeah.
They become me and you. They're businessmen, they're entrepreneurs, they're trying to make their way, and they want to have a great little family existence, right? So this teaches them early how to manage their money,
right?
And that's critical, right? So that when they do have their own family, they're already figured it out.
Do they get training, like financial type training? 'Cause my fear is these kids again, I'm going back to the Power 5 example. They're making 6 figures, like you said. They're still not good enough to make it to the NBA or to football, or they tear an ACL and it's over.
Yeah.
And then they're used to making $400,000 a year, and then it's over. And it's I wouldn't turn down $400,000, but if I was 21 years old, getting a $400,000 stipend or whatever it might be, and then we're back to reality, I hate to see a kid go bankrupt or have tax problems or whatever it is because of those horrible money mismanagement situations.
Yeah, we do bring it into our environment, and it is part of our educational efforts. And we have it in a lot of different ways, right? Direct financial advice from people who really have figured out how to manage money. Simple things like opening up a checking account and just paying your bills.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're doing a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But there are horror stories out there.
I'm sure there are.
I mean, horror stories where the kids were promised certain things, those things never came to fruition. The kids did receive those things and just didn't understand how to do it.
That's right.
And they're worse off. They're worse off today.
It is.
Than they would have been had they just kind of stayed what they were doing and managed their own existence. And they took the money and ran, and then they didn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And they ended up worse off.
Yeah, that's right.
It's pretty sad.
It is. It is.
So we have an obligation to make sure that they know where the pitfalls are, how to navigate through those, because a lot of them don't have the kind of family support that you would hope. Right?
Sure.
And sometimes the family support is send me the check, right, and we'll manage it for you.
Yeah.
And that might not always be a great thing either.
That's true.
So we've got to
we've got to
educate them.
There's so many challenges involved in all that. Talk about recruiting. Again, going back to Huntington, what can businesses do for Marshall? How are businesses involved in recruiting from volleyball and golf to football and basketball?
Yeah, so we have so many different partners, and I'm glad you brought up golf. Guyon's a really good example. We've been working with the country club to build a golf facility. Now we go and play there and practice there.
That's your home.
That's our home.
Yeah.
But that's a membership-driven country club, and what's in it for the members, right? So if we build a practice facility, how does that benefit the membership? So we've been working holistically together to try to create an opportunity for us to be competitively successful while giving the members a great new benefit that they otherwise wouldn't have had. And that's always what we're trying to do with our business partners, right? There's something specific we need.
Yeah.
What can we do to help promote your business?
That's right.
Everyone is open to it. It's crazy how open people are to it. I did an event last year at Christopher Eats in Barbersville where our coaches were the servers and the bartenders. They closed the restaurant for us. They staffed it in the kitchen. We came up with a meal. Our coaches served it and sold the drinks. The restaurant gave us a portion of the profits after we paid the expenses for the food. It made a nice amount of money.
Sure.
It promoted Christopher's. It made us a little bit of financial. It gave real connection to people who wouldn't otherwise have known. Every one of our head coaches.
There you go.
Served food.
That's right.
Right. And was your waiter.
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of fun.
That's right.
Hey, Chris Grassi, I'll take the,
Yeah.
Hey, Greg Beals, can you get me a gin and tonic?
Yeah.
Right? And suddenly you feel more connected.
That's right.
And more likely to join us and more likely to buy a season ticket. And we had someone come through with a huge philanthropic gift that night too. We got a $750,000 gift, ironically, to the golf facility.
Perfect.
Right? Because Christopher's opened their door to us to allow us to do that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Christian, I don't know if I've ever heard a Marshall athletic director talk about golf before, and I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome that's on your brain that you're trying to get a facility built for Marshall golf.
Yeah.
We live in it's football, basketball, and that's it, right? I mean, so many schools, and I get that that's what supports a lot of the programs, but still to go, hey, we need to have a first-class golf facility. We don't have one. It's like you're checking off things. You're trying to all right, we got a new baseball stadium. We got a practice facility for volleyball, men's and women's basketball. What else can we do?
Right. I don't want to disparage what's happened here before, but it almost felt like we only cared about one or two sports.
I don't disagree.
Right. And
that's easy to do again when you're looking at the paycheck, the bank account and stuff.
Right.
I get it.
We have to generate revenue because it sustains everything, right? We have to. So we do have to always take care of football and always take care of basketball. We just do because it's our economic engine and it's just the reality and everyone knows that. But it shouldn't be at the expense of everyone else.
No.
Right? So there is a way where everything can matter and everyone can matter. And you just have to really think about how do we promote the other programs?
Yeah.
How do we build their experience? And it comes down to putting great people in front of them. Like the head coaches that you hire, directly impact how those people will feel about their experience. And they also directly impact whether or not someone's willing to give to their program as we build it.
That's right.
Right? So Matt Grobe has done an amazing job building a community around our golf program,
right,
where people care about it and they're willing to invest in it. And you saw what happened last year. We got to match play for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And, we're in the hunt for a championship. Now, we fell a little short, but I'll tell you what, we're in the hunt.
That's right.
And we haven't been before.
Yeah.
Right? And we got to see that across all of our sports programs.
Yeah.
Comprehensive excellence is critical, right? Because it makes the culture in your department feel like they matter.
Yeah.
Because they're doing something to promote all of our programs. It's working.
Yeah.
It's working.
Well, I remember saying last year the unbelievable run that we had on women's basketball.
Yeah.
I went to that championship game, the regular season championship game, and I posted on Instagram. I was like, you can win here in Huntington. You can.
You can.
In any sport, I really believe at our level, at Sun Belt Conference,
yep,
we can win here, and that kind of proved it in terms of what we're doing with football. In terms of what we're doing with soccer, women's basketball. I know men's basketball can win, and I know football can win too. And I know I'm leaving out. And then baseball, that's next.
Yeah, it's
softball
next.
has one.
Yeah.
And baseball now it's like, all right, we got the facility, now let's go. So you can win here in Huntington.
You can win here, and when you think about those programs that you just mentioned, you're talking about unbelievable people. Morgan Zirkle is phenomenal. That gal competes,
That's
and
right.
she's going to recruit kids
That's right.
that are like her.
Right.
And eventually softball is going to take off.
Yeah.
We saw what Kim did. We know what Julie can do.
Yeah.
Julie won 400 games.
Crazy. Your
Right?
new women's basketball
our new women's
coach.
basketball. She won a national title. She had the nation's longest home winning streak. She went 97-3 in her last
How we
100
get her?
games.
I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Are people just like, do they look down? Well, she was D3, right?
She was D3.
Or do people are like, that's and we did the same thing with Kim going from D2.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people didn't believe in Kim either.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or it's like, it's D2, it's D3, it's a different world.
It's a little bit of that, but it's also the way you approach somebody.
Yeah.
It's critical, the way you approach somebody. And because we have such great presidential leadership, I can put someone in front of Brad, and Brad can explain where Marshall University is going.
Okay.
Right? And then when you hear where the entire university is going, it makes you feel more confident in the athletic department, right? So that's a big part of it. I never told you the story about Julie.
I don't think so.
So I'm at the Final Four with Alabama.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kim and I are obviously having many conversations while she's being recruited to be the next head coach at Tennessee.
Yep.
I know the athletic director there very well, Danny White. He's obviously talking with me about the process with Kim. And, they're going to hire her.
Yeah.
Right? And I know a little bit before everyone else does. And
Nothing you do about that.
Yeah.
When Tennessee calls,
he wanted to announce it as a part of the NCAA Final Four because he wanted to take away some
from
of
Alabama,
the media
SEC.
from the women's NCAA tournament
Yeah,
going
South
on at the
Carolina,
same time.
and they're SEC competitors.
So if you remember, the Tennessee, the ticker goes across the women's Final Four, has hired Kim Caldwell from Marshall to be the next head coach at Tennessee, all by design. And I knew that that's when it would get formally released. So I'm in the lobby in Alabama, or in Arizona, waiting for Kai to come down, just to say hello, and they're getting ready for their game against UConn.
Your son.
My son. And Nate Oates and Ryan Pannone come down, the coaches, to the lobby. And they walk over and say, "Hey, Christian, heard about Kim. Who's on your list?" I know them both really well. I interviewed Nate at Pitt for the head job there. Nate and I, obviously, my son played for him for 2 years at Alabama, so we had a good relationship. And Ryan and I just got to know the associate head coach. And I started going through a couple of names on my list, and they say, "Why is Julie Folks third on your list?"
Okay.
Right? And I was like, well, I don't know her as well as I know some of these others, and I'm working off of a recommendation from someone that I trust about how great she is. And then they tell me that she came to their MBA coaches camp. So Nate hosts an MBA coaches camp to teach them the analytics that they use.
Okay.
Because in the MBA, they're always looking for an advantage.
That's
and
right.
They go and talk to some of the college coaches. Number one, they want to know what players are going to be great. Number two, what are you running, and is it working?
Sure.
Right. So Nate has both. He's got great kids. Brandon went number 2 in the draft.
Yep.
And he's got a really good system. right, that uses data. They call it BAMalytics at Alabama.
Love it.
And they tell me after the NBA coaches came through and after Julie Folks spoke to them, one of the GMs went to Nate and Ryan and said, man, I'd hire her to run one of my NBA teams. She was phenomenal.
Wow.
Where the heck did you guys find her?
Right.
Transylvania, Lexington, Kentucky, an MBA person is not necessarily dialed into a D3 school in Lexington, Kentucky.
That's right.
Right. And Ryan pulls me aside and says, hey man, like you move her to the top of the list. So they go up, Kai comes down, we go to the game, and I'm at the game thinking about it the whole time. I just decide, you know what? I'm gonna text her right now. And hey, can you talk tonight? And just want to get to know you. And obviously, my job is open. And it just went from there. And after I got off the phone, I had already sent Brad my list, and I was like, hey Brad, I'm gonna rearrange some things. This is our person, right? I want to get her in front of you as soon as possible.
That's right.
I think she's going to be here on Monday.
Yeah.
If Kai wins, it'll be a different day.
Got it.
Yeah,
sure,
because
sure.
Alabama is, going to be in the national championship.
Yep.
Right? And it worked out really quickly.
Yeah.
And, 72 hours later, the world knows that, we hired Julie. So it came from me calling Julie and saying, why did Nate Oates and Ryan Pannone stop me before the biggest game of their career and tell me, you should be the next coach at Marshall?
What'd you say?
And it's probably because I spoke at their camp.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Okay.
We run
yeah.
a similar
yeah.
system.
Yeah.
But that's how
right.
That's how the conversation started.
Sure.
Yeah. And so it speaks volumes about who she is, being able to get two coaches in the pinnacle.
Level. That's right.
At the pinnacle.
That's right.
To say, give her a look.
Yeah.
Right. So
well, and again, like you look at, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do we get her?
Yeah.
It worked with Grassy, going from
Yeah.
Division II to Division I.
Sure did.
Worked from Charleston. Going from
Yeah.
Charleston. Obviously, with Kim going from Division II, it can work. Winning's winning. I don't care what level.
Exactly.
Winning is winning.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you're doing something right.
Yeah. How the person feels about their participation on that team too. So we had board members whose kids went to Transylvania that played. Lakin Bell, this is no surprise. This is no secret. She's on our staff now. So Sean was absolutely, hey, like I've watched her for 4 years.
Okay.
Like Lakin's won 113 ball games.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
That's right.
Right. So you start to familiarize yourself with people that know the individual more than you do.
Sure.
And when you trust them and you respect them, and they're not going to steer you wrong. Nate Oates and Ryan Pannone were not going to tell me that she's a dud.
That's right.
They would not have done that
Right.
unless she is phenomenal.
That's right.
So.
Hey, talk about, on this podcast, we talk about Huntington a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
We talk about, you can't talk about Huntington without talking about Marshall, which means we talk about Brad Smith a lot and all the things that are going on here. Talk about your relationship with Brad and how you all work together. You're the athletic director, and he loves to say that. Like, hey, Christian's our athletic director. He runs the program. But you brought you bring your coaches to him.
Yeah.
To get your thoughts. How does that process go? How does that work?
Yeah, Brad is so incredibly special, and he truly believes in you, right, to make great decisions. And he's always available for advice and counsel. And because you feel so empowered, you always go and communicate, right? Because he trusts you inherently.
Right.
So the style that he deploys fits perfectly for me and the way I like to think, the way I like to work. So a lot of people have asked me, okay, what's it like to work for Brad, and how does Brad do it? It comes up all the time in different conversations that I have. So I developed a leadership theory already about Brad Smith, and I call it the math of leadership.
Okay.
Literally created this
to
describe what it's like to work for Brad, to have Brad be in your corner, to have mentorship from Brad. And I came up with a really simple way of talking about it too. And you're going to love this. 2 + 2 = 4.
Okay.
Brad is motivated to mentor. Motivated to mentor.
Got it.
He literally pours into every single person on cabinet and tries to make them better. He gets encouragement, feel good, about motivating other people, about mentoring other people. He truly enjoys that.
Yeah.
He has made me a better leader in 28 months, a significantly better leader, because he's so motivated to mentor. At the same time, he empowers you to execute. That's the other two, empowered to execute. So motivated to mentor, empowered to execute. I trust you, make a great decision. This is your call. He wants to know the principles. He wants to know the why.
That's right.
But as soon as I explain all that, he's locked in, right? And then helps me get the people, right, that I bring in front of him. Like literally helps me.
He helps close the deal.
He is the ultimate closer.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Right? Ultimate closer. And, you don't, once you meet him, you're you're enamored a little
That's right.
bit. You're kind of in awe. How can someone be so great and so caring and so collegial and so intelligent, right? That's just who he is, right? So, and then all of that equals guidance for greatness. And I truly believe that's what he's doing. He's not doing that just for me. He's doing that for every single person on cabinet. He's doing that for our entire university. He's doing that for our community. He's guiding us towards greatness. He's empowering people to execute. And he is overtly motivated to mentor us all, right? And the guy's earned it.
Yeah.
He's earned the respect and right to treat people that way and think about us that way because how successful he's been in his own life.
That's right.
Right? So we could not be more fortunate than to have Brad as our leader.
Do you, Rafa, your new women's soccer coach, has he ever pushed back on that kind of stuff? Like, really push, like, hey, why is this the guy or why is this the girl that we want to lead our program? Does he challenge you on it to make you?
He challenges the thinking, but
nothing wrong with devil's advocate, right?
He just wants to see if you have the counterpoint and if you've really thought it through, right? Principle-based decisions, if all you do is, hey, here's my principles, here's my why, you're set.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Because he just wants to know that you've gone through the process, right? For Rafa, it was, hey, Brad, let's build Marshall soccer. Let's not have men's and women's.
No, that's right.
Let's build our brand around what Chris and Rafa have done together on the men's side.
Yep.
And let's rebrand as Marshall Soccer. So if we're going to do that, our women's program has to elevate. So let's use some of that tactics, some of that process, some of that recruiting, some of that mentality, and bring it onto the women's side.
Same uniforms now too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, part of that branding. I guess you're
and I
talking
think
about.
Rafa can do that, and here's why. And I'd like you to talk to Chris about why he supports that too, Brad, because Chris does such a good job of explaining where Rafa has been and where he is now, and why he's ready to lead, right? And what it does for the overall program, the soccer community, how we'll run camps, how we'll communicate with our community, right? It's completely holistic now. There is never a competition.
Yeah.
Who gets the field win is a lot easier when it's Rafa and Chris.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
How do we manage the camps? It's a lot easier when it's Rafa and Chris.
Yeah.
And they're different, but they're connected. And we're going to have an unbelievable Marshall soccer community because of the two of them.
Well, my son is 9, and he went to Marshall soccer camp this summer. And Marshall soccer is probably his favorite sport right now at Marshall. He loves it going, loves Rafa. He's been a ball boy a couple times, and he went through Rafa to get all that done. He was more excited at our Thunder and Herd rally this past weekend. Rafa was the coach he was most excited to see. He hadn't seen him all summer. Hadn't seen him since camp, and he was excited to see him. So, but again, that's just going back to that. He's got that. He does have that it factor with people like him. He's a very, very likable person, and he'll be an easy person to want to get behind.
Yeah, he wants to be here. This is home. This is home. This is his home, right? And that's critical. That is absolutely the most important thing. Is you make this place your home. Chris Grassi has made Huntington, West Virginia, his home. Yeah,
right. And he wants soccer to be better in this area for the community and all that too. Yeah. Two more things that I want to go over. One, let's talk about changes this year with Marshall Athletics regarding enhancing fan experiences. Can't leave the game and come back in. All that kind of stuff. Can you give us a quick little rundown on all that?
The wisdom of the legislature, right? Conceal carry. But we are on a college campus. Obviously, we're not going to take away that fundamental right. The state of West Virginia has decided that. But if you're going to come into a venue, you got to be scanned and wanted.
Yeah.
And we've got to figure out a way to make sure that you understand that. And so we have to manage that law. And our campus, our community decided together that the best way to do that was to create a no reentry, right, policy. So we built a fence around the facility.
Big fence. It is.
We extended the concourses, right? So we'd have more space to spread around. And we are going to, ask you to stay for the game.
Yep.
And if you need to come out, in order to come back in, you got to get rescanned and you got to buy another ticket.
Yep.
Right. And it is to dissuade people from making those decisions because we want to protect everyone. God forbid someone should choose to do something extraordinarily awful.
Of course.
We've got to make sure that that can't occur. What makes it hard is we've been doing it the way we've been doing it for decades. We had many opportunities to comply with what 99% of
99.9%
every other venue does, right?
Yeah.
And I hate to bring up such horrific things that have happened, but after 9/11, a lot of people did that. They closed the security, they made you want and scan, and we've been doing it for 20 plus years as a result. COVID, a lot of people said, okay, we weren't doing it, now we're going to do it. And
beer sales.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like as more and more schools have beer sales, like okay, we'll stop the pass outs.
And somehow Marshall avoided all these opportunities to implement that policy.
Right.
We implemented clear bag my first year. We didn't have a clear bag policy at Marshall, right? So now our fans are unbelievable, and they're not going to do anything crazy and wrong. But we've got to mirror what's happening at 99% of the other venues. So I hope our fans respect it, get behind it, know that at the end of it, it's all about their safety and security because we want them to enjoy an unbelievable ball game.
Hey, as a fan, I'm for it. I can say this, maybe you can't, but I hate, at the start of the third quarter, and the stadium is 50% less full than it was, and because people are in the parking lot having a beer. Let's get in there. Third and fourth quarters are the only quarters that matter, right? It's those last two that matter, and we got to close the deal in the fourth quarter and get that win too. So that's me as a fan. I'm saying that stay in the stadium and but talk about too. You added food trucks and
so
more.
So this good, bad, or indifferent. We do not oversee concessions. I would love to, but we do not. Right, it is managed by a third party that reports through the university, and that revenue, those decisions are all for the university. But if we're going to bring everyone in, we've got to create an environment that allows them to have a good experience. So we pushed, right? Let's add food trucks. Let's expand concourses. Let's do grab and goes. Let's staff every single concession stand, no matter what.
Yeah.
Let's expect to be successful and have all these people wanting to buy food and drink. And man, I hope it comes together. I really, truly do, because our team spent a lot of time helping Sodexo figure out a great configuration. Sodexo has been on board. I think what happens when you do sell more is prices lower, right? We shouldn't have to be paying $8-9 for a beer. Ridiculous.
I got it.
But when you're not selling many of them, that's the cost, because I've got to pay someone to serve it.
That's right.
And I got to buy it.
That's right.
Right. So as you stay in the venue and as you purchase more, we hope, those things should lower. And that's where we'll be vocal and push. And I've seen other professional venues do that. You can go to an Atlanta Falcons game and buy a hot dog for $2 because they're selling out every game.
That's right.
And they just decided we're going to sell enough hot dogs where we can sell them for $2.
That's right.
Yeah. And those are the kind of things I want to do.
Yeah.
Right. With our concession partner.
What other goals? So things you want to do. What are other goals do you have for Marshall Athletics? I know wins, but what else? You mentioned a golf facility at Guyan. What else? What else you want to do? You've done a lot. What else you got?
Oh yeah. So we need more premium spaces, right? In order to match some of the revenue goals that are happening, the expectations for us to produce our own revenue, rightly so, we've got to create new premium areas, exciting ones. I want to build a deck on the Shoey for football. I want to charge a special fee to be up there and be a special environment. You're overlooking the football field. You'll have access to the field, and that'll come at a price point, at a premium price point. We got to build the deck.
Yeah, that's right.
And we build the deck, people will buy there. The basketball arena has, 6 outdoor loge boxes overlooking the court, really an underutilized space, butts up against the women's basketball offices. could be an amazing club space if we reconfigured it, enclosed it, made it better amenities, gave it a higher end look. I've already had a great conversation with someone I think will name the space for us and help us build it. So I've got an architect coming to help us design that space. Now I got to relocate the women's basketball coaches' offices, but that helps when you're winning.
That's right, yeah.
And then someone's going to want to invest in making
That's
sure
right.
that they got a good home,
Yeah.
place to recruit kids to and do their work. So if we can do all those things, those two areas will just support themselves, fund themselves, generate new revenue, and give people a really cool. So those two things are really high on my list. And we need to build an outdoor track and field complex, critical.
Yeah.
You
have to, right? For the Sun Belt. But is it, do we have to
we have a really good indoor.
Yeah.
But we don't have any place to compete outdoor. These are 6 sports, right, that people forget. When you have a track and field program, it's 6 sports. Cross country, men's and women's.
Okay.
Indoor track, men's and women's. Outdoor track, men's and women's.
Yeah.
So, we're in the top half in cross country. On the women's side, we've been good. On the men's side, we just added it back, right? In order to get great at those 6 sports, we got to have an outdoor facility. So, and that could be a community track. And we could host other events, right? If you have a track, they will come. We are the only Division I track and field program in the state of West Virginia. There are kids that we could develop, right? And we just need to be a better community and decide to do that. Like, look, I'd go walk the track if we had one.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And I think a lot of other community members would too.
Yeah.
Right? And then we could have a synthetic field in the middle where we could multi-purpose that. Come use the synthetic field in the middle.
Well, it could be for
intramurals,
band practice, intramurals, yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Community events, right? I need a field that I can play on. And so often our weather here prevents us from utilizing grass fields.
That's right.
So if we had a synthetic, there's no reason to say no.
Yeah.
Right? You can play in the rain, right? And let's go.
Yeah.
So there's a way that we can do that.
What about grass football? I know Coach Huff has wanted that, and I get that. Is that
it's just unrealistic in the modern football environment.
Yeah. I mean like as a practice.
Oh, as a practice field, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As a practice field, we can potentially build that in. Like where?
I know.
Like it just becomes a land issue and a land use issue. And is that the best purpose for it, right? We took the old baseball site that we did the groundbreaking on initially that didn't come together, and that's going to become something really special for the community.
Yep.
Right? Some restaurants, some bars, some markets, some new amenities that are going to make us better. It's a much better use than a grass football field.
Sure.
For this community.
That's right.
So we just got to partner, make great decisions. I'd love to get Chris Grassi a grass pitch, right? And a training facility. I think that's very possible. So there's always something to do.
That's right. What is like a timeline on like the premium seating and areas and that kind of stuff? What's a realistic goal in your mind for some of that? That's the first thing you mentioned.
Yeah, next fall for football.
Yeah.
Yeah. We take out the old video board that's on the Shuey building, and we go ahead and go for it, build that apparatus. And, the tickets that we sell in there will pay for the venue, at least in the first year. And then after that, it becomes revenue.
Yep.
But I do think we could find a corporate partner or a family to help us offset those costs.
Of course.
Right, with some great seating and a great name. The basketball facility, I think, is a 2-year project. I need to get the schematic design, the cost per square foot, and pitch that to the donor that I've planted a seed with and see if it still meets their expectations. And then relocate the women's basketball office. So I think I can do that in 2 years and football in 1 year.
On the Henderson Center, are you looking at like making that where the women's basketball offices are like a club level and not using like the big green room underneath the bleachers anymore?
We would still use that. That would still be there for courtside and those fans that sit right there in those first 5-6 rows.
Got it, yeah.
But this would just be for those that like the club experience and want to have an individual suite.
Sure.
I think we can build 5 individual suites, put a bunch of TVs in the back, 2 bars in the corner, let people have a drink rail, watch, and others be in their private suite. It could be really special.
I got it.
A really cool space.
I mean, again, you're competing with TV and couches and all that kind of stuff. You got to give them a reason to want to get out there and have that VIP access and all that too.
We did something similar at Pitt. We built a party deck out at the arena, sold memberships instead of tickets, and you can come to anything and watch games up there, put all the other games on the back. Place was packed.
Yeah.
So it just what's going to fit the demographic that you're trying to bring into the venue.
Sure.
So,
Sure. That's all I got. Anything else you want to add? Anything I missed?
but really appreciate what you do to help us grow with Kindred and the stations. But your family, your involvement. Thank you, man, for
Appreciate
all you do to build our city.
Where Marshall goes, Huntington goes, where we go. So it all goes together. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, brother.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, peace.
And that's our episode. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, share, and even leave us a 5-star review. Season 2 of In Your Business is presented by Moses Auto Mall of Huntington, MosesMeansMore.com, and powered by the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce and Kindred Communications.